did a Mustang handle like this? Welcome back to Adam Drives LA, where I drive the coolest cars on LA's most iconic roads. Today we are in beautiful Malibu on a hot, sunny 85-degree day, but we have something special for you. Check it out. This is the brand new 2021 Mach 1 Mustang, courtesy of Ford of Santa Monica. Call them up, they have inventory. Ladies and gentlemen, if you've not already subscribed to the channel, please do so now. Scroll down, smash the like button, and without any further ado, let's get in so I can show you why Ford calls this the ultimate version of the 5.0 V8. All right, we're out of the sun, we're in the Mach 1. Let's see if Ford is right when they say this is the ultimate version of the Mustang's 5.0 V8. Lots of power, immediately we know that. Wow, the steering wheel is just, you hit a little light reflector and it's all over the place. You really gotta keep your hands on the steering wheel. Oh, there's no lack of power. 480 horsepower, 460 torque. That's 20 more than the regular GT. And the 480 and 460 is exactly what the Bullet had. The Bullet is gone, the Mach 1 takes its place. But the Mach 1, in my opinion, is the better car because it has a lot of parts from the GT350 and the GT500. Most importantly, the one thing that we're missing is the 6-speed manual transmission, the Tremec 6-speed gearbox that comes from the GT350. That really makes the car. That's probably the one I'm going to tell you to go with when you order this car. I have it in the automatic. Wow, the suspension is really solid. I mean, the car is just planted on its feet. I mean, go back 10 years. In what world did a Mustang handle like this? Any of them? Talk about the GT500, the GT350, this car, the Mach 1, the Bullet. I mean, all of them are just terrific all-around track cars at this point. You only need to go back a couple of generations to see the really slow shifting, I mean, awful handling, just wild, out of control V8s that had no refinement whatsoever. This is not the same car. Now, I learned a big lesson from my GT500 video. When you're driving a Mustang in this kind of power range, you have to keep the variable exhaust on the quietest mode. Otherwise, you won't be able to hear a thing I say. So I'm going to keep it in the quiet mode while we talk a little bit about what the Mach 1 is. Now, the Mach 1 was originally introduced in 1969. Mustangs were just simply not able to keep up with the faster Camaro and the Firebird from GM. So the Mustang created a Mach 1. Now, funny enough, back then in 1969, you had, I believe, 4 options for engines. Did you know one of them was a 7.0 V8? That is monstrously big. So this current 2021 Mach 1 is a reintroduction from the previous one, which was 17 years ago. 2003, I believe, was the last year they made a Mach 1. Then came the Bullet, and we've had a couple of other variations like the Shelby GT, the California. Now here we are in the new Mach 1. It looks awesome. We're gonna jump right into the design. Now, my initial thought when I first saw this car all blacked out and detailed, ready to go from Ford of Santa Monica, I looked at the wheels. The wheels stand out. They remind me a lot of really thin kind of BMW M3, M4 competition wheels with the thin spokes. It's not what you expect out of a Mustang, but damn, do they look good on this car. Now, following along with the theme of having everything blacked out, the only thing that stands out is the red pinstriping. You have it along the side of the car, you have it on the hood, which is reminiscent of the original Mach 1s. They all had these decals all over them. I like that they've done it tastefully. It's not over the top. And the best thing, because the car is black with the red pinstripes, the brakes, these giant Brembo brakes, brakes are also painted black with the red lettering. That looks amazing. The front end of this car, you notice two things immediately. One, that massive front chin spoiler that looks like it's 2 levels. It's coming so far out. The front end is just in a different time zone on this car. I love how aggressive that looks. It really helps the stance of the car. The second thing you notice is the fog light delete. These, although they are closed now, they are very thin plastic pieces that you pull out after the customer has purchased the car. These open up to provide more cooling into the engine. As we go down the side of the car, you see the wonderful, giant, thick Mach 1 badge. Really have to tell people that this is something special. Now, as you go down the side of it, you notice the nice rocker panel that really helps give this car that stance. It lowers the car visually, and you get to see, you know, the wheels, although they're not massive, which is a good thing. I don't like having 23, 24-inch wheels on a car like this. A lot of these hypercars, supercars really start to get a little bit crazy with the wheels. This is tastefully done. You still have plenty of rubber. The tires also are borrowed, I believe, from the GT350R. They are the Michelin's. These are the tires you want for a car like this. And as we wrap around and get to the rear end of this car, we see my favorite part of the design. They've added a beautiful functional whale tail. Now, the best thing about this is in my rear view mirror, I don't really see it. It doesn't block too much of the vision like a big spoiler would. It's tastefully done. It's just subtle enough, but it's pretty damn big when you get up close to it. It really stretches out the car. It elongates it. It makes it look lower. I mean, it complements the rear end in just the right way, because a Mustang without a spoiler, to me, that's always been kind of the weak spot, is that rear end. They go for the fastback look, but it's not entirely a fastback. There's still the flattening at the end. So there's always been a little bit of this dogtail in the back. This really complements it. This, to me, is the better spoiler than having something that stands up. You've got your massive quad exhaust in the back. You've got a giant, thick Mach 1 badge, because again, you have to remind people what just beat them when they're looking at you from the back. And I have to add, every single vent on this car is real. Audi, take note. I always say this. These are totally functional. There's no lies, no gimmicks. The car is exactly what it looks like, a track-focused car, but I'm going to tell you why it's still very much a daily drivable one. Now, before we jump into the interior of this car, we do have to use it for what it was meant for. So much power. Wow, the car, I mean, no part of it you feel is underpowered, because of course initially my thought is right away compare it to the GT500, which honestly to me was just the most thrilling but terrifying experience I've ever been in any car in my life. This car is very manageable. The power is there, but it's manageable. You feel confident going into it. You downshift here, you give it some power. Oh, that sound so good. I have to say, any Mustang you get in a special trim like this, like the GT350, the 500, you're just gonna get the most amazing exhaust note. You never have to worry about switching out the exhaust. Let's get this thing to auto. Let's talk a little bit about the interior. Now, the interior is very much a Mustang interior. There's not a ton to talk about here. You do have your gauges up here. It is a Bang & Olufsen sound system. Sounds great. You have a lot of these options to go through in the dash in front of you, through the steering wheel by clicking the little pony button. This is where you can change the rev match. You can play a lot with the exhaust, the track mode, go into my apps. You can do a lot here. And the rev, I mean, the way the RPM takes over the gauge when you go into track mode is awesome. Then you go into track mode by clicking the buttons down here in the center. There's a few other options there. You've got your hazard lights, your traction control, steering stiffness, and then your driving mode. Above that, you have your climate control, and then above that, you have your pretty generic Mustang infotainment system. I do think it's about time. Maybe it's time for a refreshment. This thing, it reacts fine. It's quick. It has all the important things you want. And again, for a track car like this, you're not looking for all of the luxury features, but you do want something that looks a little bit more modern. It's responsive, but it can look a little bit nicer. It looks a little bit dated to me. Going back to the climate controls though, this does have the cooled seats, which I'm in California, 85 degrees, close to 90 today. You do need the cooled seats in a place like this if you're gonna daily drive this car. The interior materials are very much what you expect out of a Mustang. That's not to say that it's bad, but it's not the most luxurious thing. I mean, that's not what this car is meant for, especially the Mach 1, which is very much a track-focused daily driver. I mean, you will never get a massive whale tail like the one that's behind me on a luxury luxury car. So on the door, you've got a lot of plastic, which isn't that exciting to look at. Some leather, which kind of helps brighten it up. Some metal. Up here, you have this kind of brushed metal. I don't know exactly what it's doing, if it's brushed, if it's kind of dented. It looks cool. All the Mustangs get some kind of treatment like this on the dash. Next to the gauges up here, you have your Mach 1 chassis number. They really want to remind you that you are in something special. Let's talk seats for a moment. I'm in the standard seats. What I would recommend, of course, the two major changes I want you to do to this car if you get one, you get the 6-speed manual. I have the 10-speed auto, which is fine, but the car really wakes up with the manual transmission. And the seats, you should get the Recaro seats. They're bucket seats. They're really huggy. I've been in them on another car. This one does not have them, unfortunately, but that is an option you should absolutely spend your money on. Speaking of seats, that might be one of the reasons that you choose this over something like a GT350. If you get the R on the GT350, I believe they come with the seat delete, which my GT500 track pack had. This one has the rear seats, although you can kind of see what I'm dealing with here. I don't know if you're really going to use them, but they're there in case you wanted to use it. Now, when it comes down to whether or not you should buy this car, it's going to come down to entirely what you will be using the car for. If you're looking for a dedicated track monster, you have to just save up your money and go for the GT500, maybe the GT350R, but these are cars that have a massive markup. They're tough to get your hands on, extremely limited numbers. But if you have the money and you want a really exciting car that you can drive on the road, it's totally track capable, looks great, is refined, I mean, and you're just attracted to the Mustang, the Ford brand, this is the car to get. The Bullet is gone. That was the good one. Now we have the Mach 1, which in my opinion is the better car over the Bullet. It's refined. It shares a lot of these track parts that you are going to want in suspension, all of that with the GT500, the GT350. It has a little bit of everything you need in a Mustang. So let's talk pricing. The Mach 1 starts at $51,000. The one we are currently in, as you can see from the window sticker, has a total price tag of $61,000, $10,000 in options. All these options I think are mandatory for the car, and not a lot of dealerships are getting these cars. Ford of Santa Monica has 3 of them on display, including this one. They had previous ones that came in and they were gone like that. I scooped this one up before somebody can take it. We're doing our quick review. I have it for the day. We're gonna give it back, but if you want to get your hands on these, not every Ford dealership is getting them. Allocation is extremely limited. Call Ford of Santa Monica. They have them right now. With all that said, that's going to wrap up yet another video. Thank you so much for watching. A special thanks to Ford of Santa Monica for hooking me up with the brand new 2021 Mach 1. I hope you enjoyed it. Ladies and gentlemen, if you've not already subscribed to the channel, please do so now. Smash the like button. Follow me on Instagram. The handle is AdamDrivesLA, and we are done. That's going to wrap it up. I will see you in the